In December 2018, a forward-looking infrared video sensor aboard an uncrewed U.S. Air Force platform captured this footage while operating over the Mediterranean Sea. This footage depicts an object that appears to be transiting a plume of superheated gas and ash produced by an eruption of Mount Etna, a volcano in Sicily, Italy.
A few questions for Mr. Favor. As an expert naval aviator, have you ever seen an object that looked and moved like the Tic Tac UAP?
No.
Did the Tic Tac UAP move in such a way that defied the laws of physics?
The way we understand them, yes.
One thing, Roger, Roger. There's troubleshooting things like this.
Did you box moving target? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at that, try.
The 8-pointed star UFO captured in 2013 and declassified in 2026, this infrared footage reveals a jagged 8-pointed anomaly drifting over the Middle East. The object drifts and jitters across the frame before leaving a visible thermal trail.
You've stated that the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft. Based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Puerto Rico objects. On April 26, 2013, an infrared sensor on board a U.S. Customs and Border Protection aircraft captured footage of a UAP event over the Rafael Hernandez Airport near Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. The footage appears to depict a UAP moving at high speed, splitting into two objects and entering and exiting the water before disappearing into the ocean off Puerto Rico's northwestern coast. On May 8th, 2026, the Pentagon officially released declassified UFO files. We're talking 162 files, over 400 incidents, footage, photographs, official government memos, things that were hidden from you for decades. I went through every single file, page by page, and what I found was far stranger than anyone imagined. I'm going to show you the most jaw-dropping, chilling, and genuinely unexplainable cases ever released to the public. Apollo astronaut sightings. Here's where it gets interesting, and I mean legitimately interesting. Buried inside these files are NASA transcripts and photographs from the Apollo moon missions, Apollo 11, 12, and 17, the most iconic space missions in human history. And the astronauts, the most trained, most scientifically rigorous humans ever sent into space, were seeing things. Apollo 11, 1969, Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon, is in the cabin trying to sleep, and he reports seeing little flashes inside the cabin spaced a couple of minutes apart. He also describes what he called a fairly bright light source, which he and the crew tentatively ascribed to a possible laser. A laser in deep space in 1969. Now, there are scientific explanations for light flashes in space. Cosmic rays can interact with the eyes and cause visual phenomena. That's a real thing. But the government kept this classified for over 50 years. You don't classify a cosmic ray interaction. Something else was going on in that room. Apollo 12, also 1969, astronaut Alan Bean reported flashes of light that he described as sailing off into space. Apollo 17, 1972, the last time humans went to the moon. The crew is describing what they're seeing out the windows, and here's an actual quote from their transcript. There's a whole bunch of big ones on my window down there, just bright. It looks like the 4th of July out of Ron's window. 4th of July, on the moon in 1972. And then there are the photographs. An archival NASA photo from Apollo 12 on the lunar surface has 2 highlighted areas of interest just above the horizon. Unexplained phenomena visible when you zoom in. And the most striking one, an Apollo 17 photo shows 3 dots in a triangular formation in the lunar sky. The Pentagon's own caption says, and this is their words, "There is no consensus about the nature of the anomaly, but new analysis suggests it could be a physical object in the scene." A physical object, triangular, on the moon in 1972. And we've been arguing about whether the moon landing was real, when apparently the real question was what was already up there when we got there. The orbs, this is the weird one. Okay, now we get into the stuff that I genuinely cannot explain away with science class.
When we spoke with the flight crew, and when he showed us the photo that he'd taken, I asked why the video wasn't engaged, why we didn't have a FLIR system that worked. Here's what he said. They were out on a test mission that day over the Gulf of Mexico, and when you're on a test mission, you're supposed to have clear airspace. Not supposed to be anything that shows up. And they saw a sequence of 4 craft in a clear diamond formation. One of the pilots goes to check out that diamond formation and sees a large floating, what I can only describe as an orb. Again, like I said, not of any human capability that I'm aware of. And when he approached, he said that his radar went down. He said that his FLIR system malfunctioned and that he had to manually take this image from one of the lenses, and it was not automated in collection as you would typically see in a test mission.
Dude, that is a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My God. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not an LNS though, is it? That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's another thing, it's rotating.
The year is 2023. A group of federal law enforcement agents, multiple teams across multiple locations in the western United States, are reporting a UAP incident over the course of 2 days. 7 federal officers independently are seeing the same things. What are they seeing? Orange orbs in the sky that then emit smaller red orbs in groups of 2 to 4. The government's own description of what happened. It is not known whether there was a single orange mother orb that released the groups of red orbs or whether there were multiple orange orbs at play. Mother orb, the government used the phrase mother orb, let that sink in. And then it gets better. After seeing these orbs in the sky, one of the teams investigates on the ground. They find a super hot orb, their words, hovering over the ground. They call in a helicopter to pursue it. And this orb then travels 20 miles at a speed too fast for the helicopter in pursuit. A helicopter that cannot keep up with an orb that launched smaller orbs from the sky. The Pentagon, the entire United States Department of Defense, looked at this case and called it among the most compelling reports they hold. But here's what really got me. One officer described the orb as, and I want you to know this is an actual official government document, similar to the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings, except without the pupil, or maybe an orange storm electrify bowling ball. A federal law enforcement agent writing a UFO report referenced Lord of the Rings. I have never felt more connected to a government document in my life. Iraq 2024, a U.S. aircraft is in the middle of an operation attacking a completely unrelated target when a mysterious craft zips across the surveillance systems at a high rate of speed. They weren't even looking for it, it just appeared. Greece 2023, an object is filmed making multiple 90-degree turns at approximately 80 miles per hour. For context, no aircraft we know of makes 90-degree turns at speed. The physics don't work. The human body inside such a craft wouldn't survive the G-forces, unless, of course, there's no human body inside. Kazakhstan, a blaringly bright object doing corkscrew twists across the sky. Syria 2024, footage shows two semi-transparent, irregularly shaped orange areas appearing for just 2 seconds. There and gone. Africa 2025, a U.S. military operator reports a UAP while operating in African airspace. And here's the pattern that jumps out when you look at all of these together. The vast majority of sightings are clustered around active military operations. Iraq, Syria, the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, Cold War Germany, the Soviet Union border. Now, the boring explanation is that's where the best sensors are deployed. So, of course, you detect more anomalies there. And that's probably partly true. The less boring explanation is whatever this is, it's watching us. We have to talk about Roswell because it's in here, July 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. Something crashes. The Army Air Force first says it's a flying disc. Then hours later, they say, just kidding, it was a weather balloon. And that reversal has haunted them ever since. The newly released FBI file, which previously had heavy redactions, but now has several newly declassified pages, includes a memo from the FBI's Dallas field office. An agent reports that an Air Force major personally called to inform them that an object purporting to be a flying disc was recovered near Roswell, New Mexico. And then comes the description. The recovered object was described as hexagonal in shape and suspended from a balloon by cable, which balloon was approximately 20 feet in diameter. That's the official explanation they eventually landed on. A hexagonal object suspended by a cable on a 20-foot balloon in 1947 at 30,000 feet that the military immediately classified. Also in these files, letters addressed directly to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover about flying disc sightings. And here's the detail that stuck with me. After a sighting in Idaho, the regional FBI office wrote to headquarters asking for advice on how to explain the phenomena because, quote, continued appearance of such objects without official explanation may result in hysteria or panic. Not help us figure out what this is, but help us figure out what to tell people this is. That sentence was written 79 years ago, and it still tells you everything you need to know about how the government approaches this subject.
In this video, U.S. Navy personnel recorded what appears to be triangles, some flashing, recorded several years ago, off the coast of the United States. This was recorded while the U.S. Navy ship observed a number of small unmanned aerial systems in the area. And importantly, the video was taken through night vision goggles with a single lens reflex camera. These remained unresolved for several years. Several years later, and off a different coast, U.S. Navy personnel, again, in a swarm of unmanned aerial systems, and again through night vision goggles and an SLR camera, recorded this image. But this time, other U.S. Navy assets also observed unmanned aerial systems nearby. And we're now reasonably confident that these triangles correlate to unmanned aerial systems in the area. The triangular appearance is a result of light passing through the night vision goggles and then being recorded by an SLR camera.
So here's the honest answer to the question everyone really wants answered. Do these files prove aliens exist? No, they don't. The Pentagon itself admitted in its 2024 report that no government investigation has ever confirmed UFOs or UAPs to be extraterrestrial in origin. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman said they'll follow the data and stay honest about what they don't know. Like even Trump, who orchestrated this whole release, when asked if aliens are real, said he's not sure. What these files do prove is something almost more significant. The government has been collecting this data for decades, all over the world, from credible military and intelligence sources, and they don't know what it is either. Pilots with thousands of flight hours see triangular metallic objects making impossible turns. Federal agents watch orbs spawn child orbs and outrun helicopters. Buzz Aldrin, who walked on the moon, saw a bright light in deep space that shouldn't have been there. And in every case, the conclusion is the same. Unresolved. Not it's aliens, not it's ours, not it's Russia's or China's. Just, we don't know. Here's what's next. The Pentagon says more files are coming. Every few weeks, new batches. We are at the beginning of what might be the most significant government transparency effort of our lifetimes. And whether these things are extraterrestrial, experimental technology, atmospheric phenomena, or something we don't even have a category for yet, we are finally getting to see the actual data. That's everything from this first batch of Pentagon UFO files. When the next batch drops, I will be covering it immediately. Until then, keep looking up. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our civilization is maybe 6,000 years old. We've had radio for 150 years. The idea that in all of that space, across all of that time, nothing else figured it out before us, that's the real unidentified anomaly.